Okay, hey everybody, Relax Time Radio. Mon and I are back. How you doing? How you doing, Mon?
I'm great. It's gonna start rain soon.
Yeah, the thunder. If thunder interrupts us, if our power gets turned off, it's the weather. Okay, so Relax Time Radio here on Radio Thailand, Chiang Mai. This week, what are we bringing everybody, Mon? What's our show going to be about?
We are gonna talking about traveling in the new normal.
Yes. In my mind, I sort of split it into two very closely related things, but slightly different. So one is like traveling in the new normal, traveling during and after COVID, and then the other one is tourism, because tourism is slightly different. It's more like the economic side of things, business sort of view of things. So yeah, those couple of things.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll get into that conversation in a moment. What else is the show going to involve? As usual, we're going to be playing music, new release music. I found loads of newly released music by artists including H.E.R, Tora, Milky Chance and Jack Johnson, Mahalia,
wow,
Khruangbin, Lola Young, loads and loads of newly released music we're going to be playing for you. However, that's not going to be in this video. In this video, it's just going to be a conversation. The music, if you're watching the video, is down there in the description of the video. You can just click a playlist and listen to all of the music without necessarily having to listen to me and Mon. On the radio, all that music's going to be in the show, is in the show. Okay, super. So I guess that's it. That's going to be the topic of our show, the substance of our show. Let's get into the topic, shall we?
Yeah, let's bring it on.
All right. So should we do traveling first and then look at the tourism sort of side of it afterwards? Yeah. All right.
Great.
Okay. So I think, well, for me, it goes without saying that many aspects of travel are going to change and become more difficult in that they already are in the short term. I think they will be in the midterm. In the long term, many tourism writers and organizations also think it will have a long-lasting effect. Let's just start with right now. So, for example, a friend of mine who works at the Norwegian, or worked in the Norwegian embassy, he's just traveled to Bangkok, and so if you're traveling in Thailand now, some internal flights have resumed, but there are sort of COVID measures in place. So for a start, if you were to arrive at the airport, on the way in, you get your temperature checked. It's compulsory to wear masks at all time. You have to download a tracking app onto your phone, so that it can be used. Yeah, it can be used to sort of, if somehow or other you later on become positive or become a positive case, that they can, I guess, find out where you are and who you've been in contact with. In any case, you really have to get that. You really do have to get that app, or they're not going to let you on the flight. Without the app, you don't get a stamp on your boarding card, and without that stamp, you can't get through security. So this is in Thailand right now, and other countries are actually considering very similar things, or have implemented similar things. They have. Some countries like the UK are even thinking of like issuing immunity passports, this kind of thing. Just quickly then, sorry, Mon. Then the other things would be that in the airport there's social distancing in the seating areas, at the gate. The compulsory cleaning of your hands with hand sanitizer before checking the boarding card, and then inside the airplane, the airplane seats have sort of paper covers on the seat and armrest, and only every second seat on the plane is being used, so they're not filling the planes.
But that's only for Thailand.
Well, that's right now, but I haven't checked what the other sort of restrictions in other countries are. But I imagine there'd be similar things in many places. But I don't know. I can't. This is what's happening in Thailand right now.
Right. I heard about similar things in Australia, I think. but I heard that every citizen was asked to download this app.
Some countries, I've seen in the news, are considering sort of doing this. I don't know what the progress of this is. Yeah, I guess it's different everywhere. Let's move on to other things, because I don't want to get bogged down in that, since I know so little about it. And
Right.
Okay, so now, okay, so that's one aspect of it, and that's sort of the measures that are imposed by governments and authorities side of it. But what do you think people's personal reaction or personal sort of behavior is going to be like in psychology, traveling during this and after?
I see two different groups of people right now in the online space where I'm at, which is more the international, like travelers, digital nomads, whatever kind of people, but also business owners that are, usually in the US, but that want to travel a lot if they could. And so I get two different versions. I get the version of better safe than sorry. So they would just follow along kind of anything that the government says. And for them, it's like, well, they know what they're doing kind of thing, or even though they don't know what they're doing, but let's just, kind of obey to it. And the other part is questioning everything, because for obvious reasons, there is a big questioning behind, that's not the first pandemic in the world. We survived a few already. Why
Right.
should we suddenly be tracked with this one? Why should we have suddenly chips in our arms that shows that we are vaccinated? Why should we accept the vaccine that could?
Well, that's okay. I got you. People are thinking that kind of thing, but I think right. I haven't seen anybody suggesting anywhere putting chips in anyone's arm. But that's what people are thinking about. I know that's what people are thinking about, but I haven't seen.
It's a debate in the US to make that mandatory next year.
That's not going to happen. They're not going to put chips in people's arm. That's I personally.
Okay,
let's just say
like,
I'm betting that's ridiculous. That's totally ridiculous.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I think so too, because like I don't think that people will do it like that.
No. People won't do that. But I don't think it's a real proposal either. I don't know where that's come from, but I personally don't believe it. Okay. One thing though that's in my mind is I've been like confused in my mind about immunity, because I've heard, like, actually, especially from your country, Germany, a lot of recent medical research has suggested that it's healthier to be exposed to lots of viruses and things. And so I've taken that on board, but I've realized that perhaps that comes with its limits. So because there's a natural rate of spread through human populations of things, but the global airline, business, the global flights business makes a very sort of massive difference to that. And it's just become something that's perhaps unnaturally fast. So now I'm thinking, actually, if I'm traveling through airports, I do want to be more careful than I used to be, because I would say over the past 20 years, let's say I've taken 100 flights. I don't know how many it is. If short-term flights are slightly different. Let's just say over the past 20 years, if I've taken 50 long-haul flights or something like that, or more, 45 of them, I've ended up with a cold after getting off that flight, or getting sick. My immunity maybe is not the best in the world. I always get a cold, and then it's not such a big problem for me. I recover, but I have, a relative, my brother's daughter, who's immunocompromised, and it's not safe. She gets very sick if she gets an ordinary cold.
Yeah.
And she's always getting sick because people that come back from holiday, me or my brother or whatever, come into contact. So I've thought, now I'm thinking to myself, it does make sense perhaps it really does make sense for travelers on long haul flights, especially international flights, especially, to always have their hand sanitizer with them, and to always to wash hands much more than they have been doing in airports and this kind of thing. And then perhaps even to wear masks. definitely to wear masks if they have a cold or have some illness,
Right.
so as to help prevent,
Right.
spreading to other people.
Yeah. So two things. Although it doesn't really matter right now, but I just want to go to the cold because there are very obvious reasons for why you always get a cold on a long haul flight.
Mm.
First of all, the pressure in an airplane is artificially put on 3,000 meters because
Right.
because imagine you're going to like 10,000 meters, more or less 11,000 meters with the airplane. People couldn't sit in an airplane with 10,000 meters pressure.
Right.
There's no oxygen left, nothing. So they put it on 3,000, right? But to do though, they need to also cool down the air, which is why it's extremely cold in this airplane. And so to basically be able to put the airplane pressure down and to keep the pressure from outside and inside balanced, that's a all the
equalize the pressure.
Equalize, exactly. So now the thing is this: 3,000 meter is where altitude issues start for most of the people, which is why a lot of people get out with either colds or digestive issues, but they do not know that it has usually a relation to altitude and not to anyone,
Also, I saw this horrendous GIF. There was a GIF or video posted on one of the U.S. sites. I forget whether it was the CNN or the New York Times or something, which showed the sort of potential circulation of a virus through an aircraft cabin. I mean, it's just like some kind of horror movie scene.
Yeah.
To see it in action.
And
it's recycled air. We know that. We already know this. It's recycled.
Right.
It's recycled air.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have seen it, but I had quite a few airlines who come and they spray in the beginning and the end, they spray down the whole airline with some type of sanitizing thing. And it's disgusting. It's really chemical, but it's supposed to help kill everything that's around there. And it was before the virus already.
Right.
Many years. So I just wanted to say that because I don't believe necessarily your colds come from people around there, but it can happen, obviously, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying that I do not know because, right. How am I getting a cold? Well, I don't know enough about that. I'm just wondering if it would make it. Well, they're suggesting, right? So right now they're implementing all of these new measures for travel. And they're suggesting it's going to make a difference. So we'll see. Anyway, this is definitely
I just wanted to say, basically, it's very easy to get a cold in an airplane when you fly alone too.
Sure, absolutely.
Just by these circumstances already. So
hang on a sec. No. If you are on the, for example, if you're on the U.S. International Space Station and nobody up there has a cold, it's impossible to get one. A cold is caused by a virus, and if nobody up there has a virus, doesn't matter how temperature cold you get or anything like that, it's not possible to get a cold. It just isn't possible. The virus is either up there or it isn't.
I believe that a cold is not from a virus. A cold is from bacteria.
No, a cold is the common cold is caused by one of several different viruses, actually quite closely related to the coronavirus.
The flu is.
I'm talking about a common cold, also caused by a group of viruses, not just one. You can go look. It's like several viruses. I think 4. There are 3 or 4 different viruses which cause the common cold.
Yeah.
So not every common cold is exactly the same, but they cause something like it. Anyway, we're definitely stretching the limits of our technical knowledge. We're not doctors.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
But what I was saying, because if I'm alone in a air-conditioned room and no one has been here, which can happen, I can get a cold easily from that.
Get true. Okay, so I can explain that. That's true. Same as me. I'm exactly the same as you. I get a cold easily. And Italians have this saying. When there's a draft, they're like. They have this special phrase in Italian that refers to a draft and getting a cold. So the reason that is because if something if your body has to fight the cold as well as fight the virus, it's just more work for your body to do. So in other words, the cold and different pressures on your body, on your system, make it more likely that you will, let's say, succumb to a virus like the common cold virus. But the virus is either there or it isn't. If it's not there, it doesn't matter how cold you get in the air conditioning, you're not going to get a cold. But if it's there and you don't get cold, you don't get temperature cold, then you may be able to resist it. Your body might fight it off better. So there are all sorts of reasons why traveling through airports you might get a cold more easily. One is lack of sleep, disturbance to sleep patterns that makes your immune system weaker. And then of course, like changes of temperature, as you said, changes of altitude, all of this stuff puts pressure on your system and is more for your body to respond to. So
Yeah.
if I'm not, unless I'm mistaken, that's a pretty good representation of why you might be more likely to succumb to some kind of virus traveling through an airport. The numbers of people, then the stresses on your body from disturbance to sleep patterns, changes in temperature, this kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the other part of what I wanted to say is that I'm a little bit conscious of, first of all, people just need to wake up and do better with their health and body prevention. Body prevention, that sounds weird. But preventing, actually prevention sounds really bad too. Just taking care of their health and their body, like, don't eat any of the fast food stuff anymore. And
good catch.
And I'm trying, I'm getting better. And it's like, because I don't want to say that we should be killing these companies because they were there for a reason, but they need to shift too. They need to stop processed food until it's just chemics and then sell it for $1 and $2. Like, you can sell salad for $2 too. You don't have to pretend salad costs the world, like that's just,
So I certainly agree. I definitely agree with you that we should all be healthier. We should eat healthier, take care of our health more, 100%. Although, like in relation to the COVID epidemic, there's definitely strong indications that pre-existing health problems are related to the severity of the disease. But nevertheless, Italy is supposedly famous for being one of the healthiest countries in the world. However, they're also a very aged population. So it's a very confusing disease and epidemic, and it's not. I don't think anyone has a fully clear picture of it yet.
I don't think so. Yeah, but I think, like, for moving forward, traveling for myself, I do not want to be wrapped up in a full bottle. Like, did you say Naomi Campbell?
Yeah. Well,
I love her, but don't you bubble me up, please.
Yeah, she was traveling in a bubble.
Yeah, that's just, here's the thing. I think we all would send very, I even want to say dangerous signals to other people if we suddenly show up in bubbles, because then we tell other people, even we don't use words, but we use bubbles to show them. We basically tell people, hey, you could be dangerous to me, or I don't trust you that you take care of yourself, or that you wash your hands, or whatever it is. So I better stay a bubble length away from you, And I think this can be really, first of all, dangerous also to our mental health, but to society at all. Like, who are we to just get so distanced now and so disconnected and to so distrustful to
there's
up,
You're right. There's always a danger of overreaction, and there will be overreaction. I think it's inevitable because people are going to be psychologically scarred by this. They really are, especially in the places where it hit most hard.
Well,
for many reasons.
Ask you a question. What do you think is the difference between the SARS-1 pandemic in the world and this one, the COVID, which is like a strain of it maybe or not? didn't they say it's like a SARS-2 strain, whatever?
Right.
And even if
What,
it's not, it doesn't really matter.
what
But
hmm,
yeah,
sorry. Well, that's a complicated question. And again, I'm not a doctor or epidemiologist, but there's some, like just from what I've read, there are some differences.
I
One
mean in
is
society though,
in society.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, the differences come from just how far this is spread. So it's become more pandemic. So, for example, I read that people in Hong Kong were psychologically, because SARS hit most heavily in Hong Kong, the original SARS, right? That hit most heavily in Hong Kong. And so they were psychologically scarred by that. And it was a big thing for them. For many parts of the world, it wasn't experienced as a pandemic or as an epidemic because they just didn't have very many cases. So for many parts of the world, this is completely different. For Hong Kong, it may not be that different. You know,
Yeah.
for Hong Kong, for them it might be quite similar because I think SARS that caused more death in Hong Kong than the coronavirus has.
Yeah.
It's just that this has become completely global. SARS never became completely global, and the transmission was never like this. So it's very different in that sense.
I really loved everything that Taiwan was doing because they literally said like, well, we learned what SARS was doing and we've seen how fast it was spreading without, because when SARS was happening, we didn't have all of this travel in this amount of, sorry.
Yeah, the wind's picking up out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we just didn't have all of these travels in this masses going on at this time, right?
Not quite to this degree, no.
Yeah. And so was it the 80s?
No. It was 2000. Let me see. 2004. No, I think it was 2004. Let me just see.
Man, look at me. I don't
I
know
could be
much
wrong.
about
Maybe
internet.
you're right. Maybe it was 2000. Yeah, just a sec. I will find out. No, even Wikipedia. It's annoying when Wikipedia just says early 2000s. could I have a proper date, please?
Love it.
2002 to 2004.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like almost 20 years.
Right.
So,
yeah.
2001, yeah.
2002 to 2004, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, but I think, I feel like that also look at the time span in between. 2001, we didn't yet have Facebook. Facebook came in 2007.
Right.
Early 2007. We didn't yet have any Instagram. Instagram came in 2011.
Instagram was much later, yeah. No, I agree. The social media thing was totally different back then.
Right?
Almost non-existent, right?
So with the SARS-1 pandemic, there was basically no fake news spread of all of this stuff. You just watched the news and then you were going to call your buddy and be like, hey mate, did you hear about that? But it was so expensive to call someone on the landline, you would just not talk too long about it. So I think because of this massive shift also from the society towards the social media overuse, I think that's a huge add-on, why it's going so
Definitely.
strong. And I'm not suggesting, I just want to make this clear, that 5G towers are spreading the COVID. I'm saying that social media spreads news faster. Just want to make it clear.
Yeah, right. It's a huge part of it, and also we've got to remember, like the politicians. I mean, I follow several politicians on Twitter. Some of them are my friends, real life friends, and they're on social media too. They're influenced by social media too. It's so it's not, you can't totally separate the population from the government, because people are also government. And those some for example, my friend who's a politician, he's looking and learning about this and trying to make his own mind up about what's serious and what needs to be done based on what's out there in social media as well. And trying to understand the news and the information sources. It's a long complicated one. I think we should move on. Really think we should move on.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to mention was, okay, so I mentioned that list of things that were necessary for traveling within Thailand. Now, it's expected globally that these measures, very similar measures to this, will be enforced almost everywhere in the world when you travel through airports. And what this means is travel will become even slower to get through airports, but there'll be less people. There'll be a lot less people, but it'll be slower. Now, some people, including governments and travel industry experts, have suggested perhaps governments, in order to offset some of these travel difficulties, might try and make visa application easier. So, for example, we'll all have a harder time in the airport, but it's been suggested that some countries may try and put the whole visa application process online to make it easier for people, or even perhaps in many cases waive visa requirements altogether. So some visa requirements. So because less people will be traveling. We're going to get to this in some estimates of this from the United Nations and from travel industry people. But just as a quick one, it's been estimated that global air travel, won't recover to 2019 levels for 5 years, that it will take 5 years. It was expected to increase this year, but it won't recover for 5 years. That's the expectation, not guaranteed, but that's the expectation. And the reasons for this are, it's pretty good. It's pretty solidly based, because after 9/11, the international flight volume didn't recover for 3 years, and this is a much bigger situation.
Right. That's crazy.
So I would also expect, like, as I've said, in terms of like thinking about my own personal, what I would do when I'm traveling, just thinking about that, it's expected that perhaps many airports will, if they have the opportunity to will think about redesigning certain procedures. Many airports already have, for example, hand faucets where you don't have to touch the faucet to get water out; it's automatic.
Yeah.
These kinds of things will increase. The design of bathroom doors, etc., everywhere. If it's possible to design them, it is possible, definitely. So to have no handles on them, so we won't have, so anything that can be reduced, anything that can reduce the transmission of a virus like coronavirus, these kind of things will be done. So that's one kind of change that you could expect. Now, and as I've mentioned, similar kinds of things, just all sorts of methods of reducing person-to-person sort of contact transmission will definitely be introduced, around the world.
I think what's also I've seen a lot of changes in the way that airlines and also just restaurants, whatever, clean the shops. Like the way of cleaning is a whole different level now. Like
Right.
steam cleaning, for example. I've seen some of the restaurants here that recently were allowed to open up again. Yay! And they start steam cleaning, which I think is incredible, but it's also a big investment, right?
Right.
To make.
That's right. Well, the rules in Thailand now are, that restaurants have to clean certain businesses, spas and things, have to clean the bathrooms every couple of hours, and this kind of thing. Yeah. So, what do you think about? So, like, for you personally, looking forward, when you travel again, will it change the way you travel?
So I think so, but I personally am rather a person of I'm a little bit in between. I do have rather safe than sorry kind of rules in place, but I always had them.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna change because of this pandemic. I mean, we had a few of our travel stories that we shared before. So a few of these things, like, I mean, I've always actually had hand sanitizer with me.
Right.
I always do wash my hands everywhere before I go somewhere in, before I go somewhere out. Like, it's just it's given to me somehow. So no one needs to remind me of that, but thanks for doing so. And it's, you know, so it's just like that. Here's the thing, I will do a few things just out of respect. So here, for example, we are asked to wear masks, so I'm wearing a mask. Whether or not that's my belief or not, it doesn't matter. It's just a respect thing, right? And I think that is something that we should consider, that this is going to be, you know, it's just going to be prepared that different countries have different rules that should be respected for their citizens. But if you now want to start to track me down, I'm not so sure if I just stay home then, you know, like, I may not want to be tracked, because why? I yeah.
Yes.
So
Well,
that's the
that's a
thing.
long and deep conversation. We're
Yeah.
all already being tracked. I personally do not like to be tracked either. For example, my computer, I don't ever use a browser that's not in incognito mode. I even have some custom hacks in there that prevent tracking. But like, yeah, so I also personally anathema to that, and most people in the world are. But nevertheless, fact is, really, we're already signed into Google and Facebook, know where we are the whole time.
Yeah.
Really, Grab know where we are the whole time. And yeah, there will. I don't know. Yeah.
But if you're looking internationally now, like, I believe that, I mean, let's just say the borders open in Asia, for example, in the or within Southeast Asia in the next maybe 5 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go on a trip.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
That's for sure. First of all, probably we must go on a trip for paperwork, and then
Yeah, right.
Right, so that's a given as well. But then I'm just gonna probably I want to visit my team, to be honest. You know, like, they're in the Philippines, and one of my team members is pregnant. I just want to visit them. I want to bring them a little gift or something. You know, so
Yeah, I'm well, in my case, I'm looking forward to visiting my family, and I hope to do that, late summer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. I missed out on my dad's 60th birthday.
Yeah.
Thanks. So.
Okay, so let's can we, unless you have anything else to add on the travel bit, can we move to the tourism bit? Because I got quite a lot of, I think, interesting stuff about the tourism.
We can, but I want to know what you're gonna change.
Well, I already said something. For example, you've been doing it already, but I probably will carry hand sanitizer. In any case, because I'll be wearing a mask. We'll just have to. We'll be forced to do that. But it makes sense to me as also. Lots of things don't make sense, but masks definitely seem to. All of the people I respect on the science side have said that it's one of the most effective things, cutting down transmission. Even, for example, the people in Sweden who proposed the herd immunity idea, even those guys, those epidemiologists, they still say masks are great. They don't like the lockdown, but they're still proposing masks. So,
Yeah.
Which is quite surprising in some ways, but masks are very effective.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk tourism then.
Tourism, I find this the more interesting part of things. Okay, so it's still travel, but I find it the more interesting. So, as I sort of mentioned, I didn't give the actual figures. In 2018, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, counted 1.4 billion international tourist arrivals. They had predicted that to go up to 1.8 billion by 2030, but now they say that we won't get back to 1.4 billion for another 5 years. That's what they're saying. Let's just see. So I was reading about this one. Several places in the world are rethinking their tourism. So Venice is one of the biggest tourist destinations in the world. They're getting a small place, but they're getting 30 million visitors a year. Now there's nobody there, but so their industry has been wiped out for the moment. But they're really thinking, do they want it to return as it was? There'd been many protests about all the cruise ships and things, and they're seriously thinking they'd rather redesign it if they could, and perhaps have an opportunity to do what they call, what Simone Venturini, who works in tourism in Venice, has called intelligent tourism, allowing tourists to sort of take time to understand and get away from the, frenetic group tours of the times that have just gone by. There are other places, for example, the Austrian Alps, that have become like famous as a sort of party ski place. They want to get rid of that image. They don't want party tourism there. They want to go back to just skiing and a different kind of vibe. That's just what that's what they're thinking. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So, but there are opportunities, and you could think of it in the same way as what happened, for example, with in many areas after the Asian tsunami of 2004. Many islands that had been sort of overexploited by tourism decided, because everything was destroyed, they thought, well, it's the chance to start afresh and perhaps limit tourism, try and take care of the environment more. So there is this opportunity to sort of have a new, fresh look at tourism, think about how it fits with cultural, community, social, environmental issues, and try and sort of, redesign it in this kind of way.
I think a lot of people also wake up now because the environment has recovered within like 4 or 6 weeks, and suddenly there are dolphins in Venice, and they're just sharks and all these beautiful animals coming back to their original places. And I think it's just so incredible to see, and people are like, wait, what, we have dolphins in Venice? And so I think that's also what kicks off a lot of these changes. And I think, so here's the thing, I believe always you can make changes in the patterns and systems that were run before without losing out on the money, And you just have to, obviously, but yet now is the best time. You anyways lose out on the money already right now, so why don't you just make all of these changes now, right? Best time.
I totally agree. One thing that's expected in terms of the aftermath of COVID, which is what we were thinking of, and I was talking to my mom about this because my mom runs a guest house in the national park in England. Now, Jessica Nabongo, who's a travel writer and the first Black woman to travel to every UN recognized country in the world, says that it's very likely that domestic trips will have a big bounce back long before international travel does. So she says for herself that she's itching to get back to traveling, but she expects that it will be domestic travel first, and she'll start doing domestic travel first. She thinks road trips and internal trips, I would say this is going to be true. It's going to perhaps be true in Thailand, and it's going to be true in many places in Europe, are going to become a huge thing, domestic tourism, especially come the summer in Europe and this kind of thing, or the tourist seasons. People will, I think, go domestic, go local first.
Yeah.
I would definitely expect that. And many industry experts are expecting this, because whether it's overreaction or not, we have all been somewhat psychologically damaged, some more than others, by this pandemic. And there's going to be a bit of a hangover from that. People will be afraid of large festivals, large crowds, more than before. People will be more afraid of airports. It's just natural.
Yeah.
And so, and the other thing is, of course, that the economic situation that we're all in means that a lot of people are going to have a lot less money for travel. And
Yeah,
so domestic travel could be a cheaper way, an easier way for people to get back into it.
definitely.
So the longer term recovery, international travel, that will be interesting to see. It's hard to predict how long exactly and how people will eventually start to forget some of the fear, won't they? You can't hold on to fear for too long, I don't think.
Right.
But it'll take time.
Here's the thing, what I also thought before we started the show today, I had this feeling of like, you know how it is with these huge scandals from celebrities and like this everything, like when everyone is like, and then 8 weeks down the road, there is another scandal and the world just forgot about it. So I kind of have a feeling that as soon as this pandemic has been kind of washed out as much as possible, like let's just say in 3 months, hopefully, all of these countries are kind of like, okay, we don't have new cases anymore, we're clean, woohoo! And then everyone's celebrating, and then everyone gets back into, okay, how is this new normal, whatever. And another 3 months down the line, suddenly we have elections going on, political stuff, and then there's another big bang, and people are like, wait, what? And they forget about what was. And then it's just going to be, it's a little bit maybe of my hope as well that they will forget all of this fear. And I agree that you cannot hold on to fear as well as long. And I think it's also just a societal progression of, I mean, you do remember the negative things more than the positive things, but you also, and that's one thing of our brains so that we can survive, you forget about them really fast.
Mm.
And it only comes back with the next negative one, So it's like,
Yeah, I am. I'm not so sure. Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know.
that's not a
I'm not so
prediction. It's just
sure.
like a
Yeah.
imaginary, hopeful scenario in my mind,
Yeah.
like it's you know how it is, like you eat this fish meal and it gone wrong, you got food poison, whatever, and then 3 months down the line you were like, oh, I really want to eat this fish meal, and you eat it because you forgot how bad it went, and then it just went all the way down. How often have you done it?
Okay. Here's where I agree with you, and also perhaps disagree, because that's true. That's how my life has been too. Something terrible happens and you forget and do it all over again, or whatever. But when I was a student, and I got so sick from tequila that I didn't drink tequila again for about 5 years. So
But you
it
drank it
was that
again.
bad. Yeah, but it took a long time. It wasn't quick. That's my point.
But we can agree you drank it again.
I definitely did.
Yeah, there you go. I drank that. I have the same tequila story, but I never drank it again. But
Well, good for
then
you.
I
Good for
also
you.
stopped alcohol completely. So
Now I've stopped alcohol completely. So yeah.
yeah, high five on that one. Yeah, I mean, it's just, for me, honestly, the reason actually why I hope so is more though for our society to not be more separated than we are. And the reason why I say that is because I see it every day that we're still, there are still topics, and I'm not going to get into them now, but there are still a lot of topics where we are still all separated in our kind of groups, and if there's just an add-on now, group 1, group 2, group 3, and then we split even more because of this virus thing, I don't know.
How about this angle? One of the things that I missed, and I imagine most people miss, well, they definitely do, because I see the photos that people post and things in Twitter. I've missed connection with nature, being able to be outside more, going into the mountains, although I've been driving to the mountains as well, a little bit. But so many people, and we've talked already about concern for the environment, perhaps redesigning tourism and the world and economies to be more environmentally, responsible. Do you think that tourism will change in respective cities versus countryside or the natural world. I wonder, because a lot of tourism is city based.
Yeah.
For example, Paris, I think, is the #1 tourist destination of the world. Paris and Venice are up there. They're 30 million visitors each per year. They're just those cities, incredible numbers, incredible.
Imagine, and Venice is so small. Imagine you have to live there. My God.
Right.
Wow. I didn't know those numbers. That's insane. All right. Well,
Yeah.
okay. So I think, so again, I think there's going to be two groups. The one that's going to pack their bags as soon borders open and run to see all of their bucket list items. And most of them might as well be still Paris, Venice, Tokyo, Barcelona, Bangkok, whatever has the world to offer, right? The seven
Yeah.
world wonders, taking selfies on the Chinese wall, pimping your Instagram profile, you got it, right? And the other group, I totally agree. There will probably be kind of a new emerge of more detox traveling. Let's just call it detox travel. Away from tech, away from big groups of people, away from, and it doesn't have to be this let's go into the jungle and take ayahuasca kind of experience, but it just be like, let's go to the Yellowstone Park. I don't know if you can stay there, but and camp outside and discover what plants are growing here, and let's collect a few of them and then press them and back to the roots. That's what I was doing as a kid. I collected bugs, living ones, in a class, and then I would look at them and I named them, probably back to these kind of things, maybe.
I think you're right. I think there'll probably be both. There'll be two groups. I mean, because especially a lot of younger people, like people in their early 20s, early mid 20s, etc. They won't be afraid of cities, and a lot of these people will love the city energy, and they'll want to get back to that city energy and go and explore some of this global city energy. I'm sure.
And right now, they, specifically online, they've been fed a lot. If you don't get a new skill in this pandemic, you're not productive, you're not cool, you're not somewhere, you're not enough. And so they all get so much FOMO that, for real though, they get so much FOMO. They're like, oh my God, I'm 20, I'm not enough. I'm going to go to Paris. I'm eating baguette and frog legs.
All right, that was a good riff. Yeah, you might be right.
Right.
Perhaps I've got to listen, and maybe I'm too old to have insight into what 20-year-olds are going to do. Now.
Mm-hmm. So what is this app tracking that you have to download?
I don't know the name of the app, but it's a government-issued app.
Is it a TOT one that I've read is it the same one that you had to download when you came back in before they closed everything down?
Let me see if I can find it.
And that's even for domestic travel right now?
Yes.
That you have to download an app to be tracked?
Yes.
Well, I'm not moving.
Well,
sure.
As I said, Thailand is not the only country in the world that's doing this right now.
I know. Yep.
I think they're trying to do this in also. So I think that the app is called Ma Chana, which I guess means Dr. Chana. It's a contact tracing app. So it's the purpose of it is contact tracing. It's a sort of self-assessment. There's a self-assessment element to it in the app as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me just see. Well, I'm not going to go into all the details of that. I haven't researched it enough. I just know that someone who just went through the airport yesterday, this is, as I've read out, was what he had to do now.
Mm-hmm. So what is this app tracking that you have to download?
I don't know the name of the app, but it's a government issued app.
Is it a TOT one that I've read when, is it the same one that you had to download when you came back in before they closed everything down?
Let me see if I can find it.
And that's even for domestic travel right now?
Yes.
That you have to download an app to be tracked?
Yes.
Well, I'm not moving. That's
Well,
sure.
as I said, Thailand is not the only country in the world that's doing this right
I
now.
know. Yep.
I think they're trying to do this in also. So I think that, yeah, the app is called Ma Chana, which I guess means Dr. Chana. It's a it's a contact tracing app. So it's the purpose of it is contact tracing. It's a sort of self-assessment. There's a self-assessment element to it in the app as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so let me just see. Well, I'm not going to go into all the details of that. I haven't researched it enough. I just know that someone who just went through the airport yesterday, this is as I've read out, was what he had to do.
I mean, I do have a few of them in the white circle, not as my friends or whatever, but I see it out there, and the FOMO that they just get fed in. My God, I don't want to be 20 right now and thinking I have like the world's gonna end tomorrow, you know? Like this is crazy. And so a few of them, or maybe more than a handful, they definitely think like they have to write their bucket list and do it, and then they're done with life in the next 5 years, you know? So it's crazy to me, but it looks like we're gonna have a swarm of them coming.
Mhm. All right. Well, interesting idea. Why don't we end it? I think we've been talking for an hour. Let's should we
It's been
do,
50 minutes.
okay. Have you got anything else to I've run out of my list. I've gone through my list. I've gone
That's
through all of it.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay. All right. Great to talk to you, man. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been Relax Time Radio on Radio Thailand Chiang Mai. From Man and I, until next week.
Yes.
Well, just 1 second. Tomorrow is Legal Matters with Khun Tam, Jarun Rod Kasai Legal Matters, and also COVID updates, this kind of thing. News updates. I'll be back with Lily on Sunday for the Jazz and Blues show. If you'd like to send any requests in for that show or any other show, you can still send them in on Relax Time Radio's Facebook page. Check out Relax Time Radio's Facebook page. Subscribe to Relax Time Radio's YouTube channel. That would be nice. The songs are down there in the description. Okay. Good night. See you next time.